Thanks for the download button on today's Unleashed podcast. I've got part 2 of my conversation with Rob Van Dam. We're going to talk a little more wrestling, why he left WWE this last time, and which company he enjoyed working with more, ECW or WWE. Rob's an avid bike rider and is also an advocate for legalizing marijuana. A real interesting cat. I had a great time talking with him. But before we get rolling with RVD, let me ask you something. Have you ever been at work or maybe out with family and friends and you start to wonder about, hey, did I lock the front door? Did I close all the windows before I left? You think you left your house wide open to any thief who wanted to come inside and grab some stuff? Well, if you ever asked yourself any of those questions, then you need Simply Safe Home Security. They got an arsenal of sensors to protect your entire home and keep your family safe. And here's the best part. You don't have to sign a long-term contract. There are no hidden fees, and they won't gouge you on the price. You can get Simply Safe Home Protection for just $14.99 a month. Simply Safe is wireless and portable with a cellular connection built in. You get professional monitoring with police dispatch, so your home really is safe around the clock. And man, it's easy to install and even easier to use. Y'all know about my battles with technology, and even I can install and use Simply Safe. That's how easy it is. So protect your home the smart way. Visit simplysafeaustin.com. Go right now and you'll also get free shipping on your order and a free keychain remote worth $25. It only takes a minute. simplysafeaustin.com. That's simply SIMPLI safeaustin.com.
The following program is a podcast1.com production.
He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're going to take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is the Steve Austin Show. Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. Sitting here in my office at 316 Gimmick Street. Got my wife sitting right across from me. Kristen, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Steve. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks for joining me on opening the show. This is about the 6th or 7th time I've opened this motherfucker because I keep fucking up, or the yard guys came here. The yard guys came early. Normally they come late. I was going to beat them out of the gate today, start the podcast, complete the podcast, send it to Stacy, and then, here they come. And then a while ago, I tried to record an open with my wife, and it turns out when I go to listen to the file to make sure everything recorded, it didn't record her into the conversation. So I started going through some troubleshooting. Is it the microphone? Is it my trusty Zoom H4 recorder finally crapping out on me after over 3 years of use? Is it the microphone? Turns out, Kristen, you had a bad cord. This is the first time the cord's over in the trash can. Oh. I've had a damn problem where it wasn't me. Wasn't me forgetting to hit the record button. I finally had like an actual technical failure.
Yeah.
I've had internet and all that kind of shit blow up on me or get real slow, and that's frustrating. But it was a quick fix.
You've had your fair share of challenges on your podcast, for sure.
Doing a podcast and putting so many silver hairs in my goatee. It's like when Moses got up on that mountain to go get those 10 commandments from Jesus. When he came down, his shit was all fucked up. That's been me with the technology issues of this podcast. Thankfully, I got a good buddy, old Dan, who keeps me running, and then Stacy's always patient on getting these damn files. But speaking of patience, I'm starting to lose patience. We've been trying to remodel this house. Real simple, a trifold door right here in place of this window, hardwood floors, a bigger sliding glass window or trifold door to go to the swimming pool, and a sliding door out from our bedroom. Only 3 doors and a wooden floor, and we ain't got shit done yet. And we've been talking about it for, what, two and a half months?
Yeah.
Well, why is it taking so long? Because the guy, the designer, what's it called?
Structural engineer.
The structural engineer had to find out if a couple of our walls were shear walls or if they were too weight bearing to fuck with. So he had to punch a whole bunch of holes in our sheetrock, find out what was underneath there, and then the drawings weren't up to speed, And so I'm sitting there trying to get ready to go down to Texas here in about a couple of weeks. We've got to go out for a big thing with Kawasaki here in a couple of days in Palm Desert. They're going to have to do these repairs. I mean, this whole remodel, I'm hoping while we're in South Texas for deer season, because our whole neighborhood, everybody here is remodeling.
Yeah, that's why everybody's so busy, and that's probably why it's taking so long. Besides the fact that the guy is not the most assertive, quick worker I've ever met.
Man, I tell you what, but it's been a pain in the neck. And then the lady come over who's overseeing everything, and I don't know. I think it's going to be cool.
It'll be really nice once it's done, and hopefully it'll be done while we're gone. We don't have to go through and live through a construction zone, because that's very frustrating as well.
Yeah, because everybody here is building or adding on or rebuilding or doing something. I mean, ain't nothing but a bunch of saws and hammers above the sirens and the helicopters and all the bullshit that's already a part of Los Angeles. Jesus H. Christ on a popsicle stick. I can say that because this is the Unleashed show.
Yeah, but you also pollute the environment when you're yelling at your podcast and you got the windows open. People are wondering what the heck's going on.
Tell somebody to shut the fuck up when they're making too much noise. You know, that's the thing. We're out here in Marina Del Rey. You want to enjoy a nice breeze of the natural climate outside. And, hell, I got to shut the damn windows, keep the noise out, turn the AC on about 69, 68, somewhere so I'm comfortable. And then you're mad because you're cold, walk around in a damn hoodie.
I'm freezing.
Well, I know, but I got to roll up the windows when all this noise factor here. You know, when we're doing this remodel, this is actually going to become my podcast studio.
Yes.
So maybe I should put some damn, I don't know what to call those, triple
pane.
Yeah, the soundproof windows.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
I mean, I don't think it's going to make a shit. I ain't going to win no awards with the podcast anyway.
But at least you'll have a nice designated podcast studio.
Finally. But your bill-paying desk is still going to be in here, so it's not like I'm really going to get a break from you.
No, I told them I was open to letting go of my desk.
Oh, so what are you going to pay bills from?
Your podcast studio.
Yeah, I'm going to be sitting up here with a bunch of podcast guests, and you're going to be sitting there with your little gimmick calculator figuring out who to send what. No, that's not the way it's supposed to work, Kristen. The reason we're getting this all remodeled, well, first of all, we need a new floor, but this is going to be like my podcast studio where I would have that creative freedom because I was surrounded by such a cool vibe that I'm going to make this room. I felt at home in it, and so will my guests. So I can't have you, I mean, I love you, but I can't have you sitting at the same desk with me doing a podcast with these people paying bills.
But we are getting rid of the Chinese doors.
Well, the Chinese doors are going, and we're going to go with 2 sliding barn doors. It's going to be so much better.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Why didn't I think about that a long time ago?
I don't know, barn doors. Who would have ever thunk it?
Yeah, just hang the hanging rack overneath the open to the door there, and you can slide it open.
Here comes
the blower's back. The blower's back. And I guess that means I'm going to unplug my wife. Kristen, thanks for joining me on
welcome.
Open. I'm going to carry my little computer and continue this Open into the bedroom. And as you know, Rob Van Dam is coming up on the show. He came by the crib a couple of weekends ago. We spent 2 hours shooting the shit about everything. And today, you're going to hear part 2 of that conversation. But before we turn the mic over to RVD, we're already rolling into week 7 of the pro football season. And if you're looking for a little action on some of the weekend games, and get yourself to betdsi.com. Use my promo code Austin25. That's Austin and the number 25 with no space. And get $25 free when you register. And hey, don't worry about playing with BetDSI. They're one of the original online sports books. Been around for over 20 years. They set a lot of the lines you're already playing on, and more importantly, they pay. They built a solid reputation on payment of winnings. They take professional and novice action. And BetDSI.com is really quick and easy to use. You can play from your computer or from your phone or tablet. The site is so trusted that many professional players do their betting there. And right now, like I said, BetDSI.com is offering this beginning of the season special. Just use my promo code Austin25 when you sign up and get $25 free just to try the service. Or take advantage of their 100% bonus on your first deposit. They'll match what you deposit. So go to BetDSI.com and use my promo code Austin25. Austin and the number 25, no space between. Take advantage of their 2 great offers and win yourself some money. That's BetDSI.com. All right, let's get to part 2 with Rob Van Dam. I want to jump back to wrestling, but I want to ask you before we get there, just time. let's just speak about how quickly time passes by. Can you believe, Jesus Christ, when you got in the business, you were before 20, so you've got 25 years in the business, give or take, right?
Yeah.
And I started in 89, and man, I was looking at something the other day, and when I was researching you, and it's like, God damn, man, I did this 23 years ago, and it just seems like I almost forgot about it. But then when I look at it, I can't believe time's passed by so fast. I was talking to my wife the other day, and we were talking about when we had met, and something along the way. And then another event, it was like, God damn, that was 5 years ago. It just seemed like it was yesterday, and all of a sudden, here we are right now. I would have never guessed back in the day when we were both having our runs that we'd be sitting in my house talking on a microphone. So how important is time to you right now at 45 years of age with everything you've accomplished? What are your goals with time moving forward?
So what my goal is, and this is what got me through like some really rough times. I had some rough times recently, some personal losses, kind of bottomed out and turned around and became productive. And, that's the process, whatever. But
I had heard through the grapevine that you were having a hard time, and that's all I know of it.
So I'm good now. And a lot of what got me better was learning how to just live in the moment. And it's easy to say, but not as easy to do.
Agreed.
Right, but the more that I'm able to actually just do that, just quit worrying about what I got to do later on or what could happen, next week or months down the road, or quit, oh my God, what's the future going to be like? I mean, this isn't what I planned on. But just being in the moment, especially when you find moments that are really happy, to cherish those. You know what? Here I am. The sun's on me. I'm whatever. I'm out on a boat. I got a beautiful lady. I got this and that. Whatever the deal is, I'm really happy. Let me own this. Let me cherish this, and you put more focus on that. That's for me. The more that I live in the moment, the better my spirit is, and so the better my approach to life is. It also is my main stress. I notice, like my main anxiety from doing the WWE schedule. I got to, especially living on the West Coast, I got to where, if I made it home on a Wednesday afternoon and I knew I had to leave on a red eye Thursday, I mean, in the back of my mind, I was just counting the hours. I was like, oh my God, I'm so tired and I got to rest up. But then I didn't work out, and I got to hit buys, tries, back, and and shoulders in the next 2 days, and I got to try and catch up with your family. You got all that. I got to such a point that I didn't renew my contract because it was like stressing me out so bad. I never had enough time. I notice still now that not that I have a lot of stress and anxieties, but when I do, I notice a lot of times it's time related. I have like such a lack of structure in my normal life right now that like if I have an appointment, I kind of my focus is on it. Like I know we're gonna do this at 12. So like last night, I'm already thinking, man, I was normally I would maybe get up, take drink a pot of coffee, maybe stretch out. What am I gonna do? Do I have to get up early and do that, or do I make I do that. It's a little bit neurotic, but it's again self-awareness, and it always does seem to be about time. Especially like if I'm going on a trip, it's so hard for me because I wait till the last day. I'm not a planner or an organizer, and like right before I go out the door, I'm like, oh my God, why? I knew I didn't have time to sit in the jacuzzi. I gave myself enough time to sleep in every last minute I could and rush. I didn't have time to sit. I didn't have time to watch that movie. Oh my God, I'm going to miss my flight. Sometimes I do miss my flight. But yeah, it's time.
So you're not a planner?
That's fair to say.
Man, I got a brother. I told the story before. I'll keep it short. He's 2 years older than me. He'll tell me in 2 years, hey, I'm going on vacation, so-and-so, here's what we're doing when we get there. It's all mapped out. Me, man, I'll tell my wife, I'll just wake up, drink a cup of coffee with her.
Yeah.
Shit, I think I'm headed to the ranch. When are you going to leave? Shit, it's Wednesday. I'll leave Friday. How long are you going to be there? Maybe a week. I'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
And then I'd just pick up, pack all my shit up, boom, I'm gone. I fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, I looked at this address on the way here. I usually am on my phone trying to check into a hotel on my way to town, or when my airplane lands, I'm looking at the car, trying to rent a car. That's the way.
Now I'm ahead of you on that one because back in the day after I got smoked, back in those days when we started running WCW. And before I was in USWA, everybody was riding together because it was your own ride. It was a weekly territorial system. But all of a sudden, when you get smoked at the rental-car counter and they ain't got shit, you got to pile in with somebody. I'm a loner. Now, back then, we all traveled together because we didn't have no money. Yeah. But if I can travel by myself. But so after getting smoked on back in the day of wrestling, I started doing that. But you're still there? I'm still there, yeah. Hey, one of the wrestling questions I wanted to ask you was, I know how much fun you had in ECW and the whole effing show. And those angles and storylines that you were in were organic in nature, very raw. And Paulie, kind of creating all this, and maybe you chipped in as well. But I've heard you speak of your time in WWE as, I don't want to put words in your mouth, was it as enjoyable as ECW? Because I think from what I read, I gathered that you didn't really like portraying someone else's angles or feelings or, I don't know, the atmosphere, because you were in an angle, some of the angles you didn't care for. Just someone else's agenda. You just wanted to go fucking wrestle. I just like to show off, basically. That's what I've enjoyed out of my career, is going out, and that connection when I'm in the ring, or even sometimes just with talking now, because people, now that they know me, sometimes they appreciate my perspective, what I have to say, and they even respect me for that. So that's what I've always gotten out of it. ECW was the most fun for me artistically. And then WWE was also very fun, but that was part of it. It was also very stressful, the monotonous schedule. There was a lot of politics, adjusting to that, and I'm not a politician, and I don't play those games, and so that was very frustrating for me as well. Explain the politics as you saw them in WWF. Well, there was a lot of when I first got there. I had no idea that I was going to be there to represent ECW, so I was stoked. Tommy Dreamer was there. Tommy, what are you doing here? He threw me an ECW shirt. Like, what? Invasion angle, dude, that's cool as hell, and I loved it. And they tried to make me a heel, and some of that stuff, it didn't work. But some of the stuff, I don't remember if I cared for it or not. But okay, so the politics would be like, I called Paul. Paul brought me in. I called Paul. Hey, all right, Paul, I'm ready. And then Paul says, okay, first you have to meet with JR at the Marriott by LAX. You have a reputation for maybe having an attitude, and so they got to feel you out. How did they get that from? I walked out on them. Okay. In '97 during that invasion angle. All right, and so reason for walking out? Because I was there for the betterment of ECW, and that's what Sabu and I thought, and Vince thought that I was there for a different reason, and Paul kept us in the dark about that. He told us the whole time, if there's anything that you don't like, just say the word. We'll go. We'll walk. And it came to a point, we're there to get put ECW on their TV. He did. Well, he did mean it. He wanted us to get heat with WWE so he could keep us. Gotcha. That's the way Paul was. And I told him, dude, they want me to put over Armstrong. Brian Armstrong, and I was like, that, and what's that going to do for ECW? I mean, he's like, and I think at the time, that other guys were beating him. At least that was what I thought. I was like, why? So I'm losing. With respect to Brad Armstrong, who's a world-class worker, but you coming from the environment you come from, coming in, you're expecting a W from the booking because it's ECW. You can't come in and do the JOB. The Jesse. Road Dogg. Whatever. Thank you. Same thing. But, okay, but exactly. Yeah. So that's why. So I got to a point where I'm like, Paul, what should we do? And instead of give me advice, do you want to go? If you want to go, just say the word. They put it all on me, and I can't come in and do the J. And they had been doing that. They had, and so I was like, so it forced a meeting with Vince, myself, Sabu, with Vince, and I don't know, Jerry Briscoe was there. I think Pritchard and Paul were in the corner, talking to each other, not even paying attention to the meeting. And that's where I learned from Vince that he never would have put me on his TV if he didn't think that I was going to stay with WWE and he was going to put me in a aggressive babyface role. And I was like, what? I had no idea this was the plan. And apparently Paul and he did know. So that's why that blew up. And then, I was there for ECW, and I was like, well, we got to go. And boom, we left. You're pretty much, from what I gathered in research and just reading about you and listening to some of your interviews, I mean, you're a man's man. If you got something on your mind, or if you and a guy's got a beef, let's talk about it.
Yes, but at the same time, I also feel obligated as a professional to, right? Okay, so like for instance, the last run I did with WWE, it seems like they had me put, everybody over but Natty Neidhart. And I waited till the end before I had that talk and explained my feelings on it. And I kind of felt, but I should have probably, maybe, I don't know. I don't regret it. But definitely a different approach to business would have been to talk earlier, and I would have had a different run there had I done that. But at the same time, I was like, let's give it another night and see what happens. And also it was like, okay, well, I'm accepting. Like, okay, this must be how the office sees me. They must have brought me in here just to give all their guys a win or whatever, and they must not look at me with the same status that my fans do.
It's a viable commodity.
Or definitely as a former world champion, with the respect that I get everywhere outside of the office, or at least at that time. So, but yeah, besides that, yeah, in fact, that USWA run in 91, like they had a machine they bring in, they go, okay, you're going to do this, and this guy's going in, then you're going to tag. So after 5 or 6 weeks, they said, hey, we don't really have anything else for you guys, me and Sabu and two other guys, Dango and Judge Dredd. Besides that, I'm pretty sure I've walked out of every, or not walked out, but I'm pretty sure I finished by my own choice from every company that I ever worked for.
How much heat did you get? I watched the interview you did with Sean Oliver. It was a trip over to Iraq, and you were resolute. You were not going because no heat.
No heat.
But it took some guts to take the stand you did.
A lot of boys
got a lot of respect for you for that. Because, all of a sudden you got 10 days off. You've been running your ass off. You know how the road days were, dude. Yeah. And so you're looking for your days off, and all of a sudden, hey, man, it's a volunteer trip.
Yeah,
and he was like, hey, man, if it's volunteer, I ain't volunteering.
Right.
Well, this is kind of one of those understood volunteering where you're all volunteering.
Exactly.
Not so fast, my friend.
Exactly.
It was a good story, though.
Yeah, and it got to a point where I was actually offended because, priorities. In my priority, it was more important for me. Just there was no way I was going, first off. And I knew that. And just the fact that, like, I thought that the office, they were sure that I was going, and that got offensive. Like, what? Why do they think they own my flesh? I'm telling them, I'll accept any consequences. I am not going.
Being fired, whatever,
absolutely.
You ain't going.
Whatever the fuck you think you can do to me, bring it.
Yeah.
It became like about that, just about who was going to win with that.
Yeah.
But besides, I knew I was going to win because I knew I wasn't going anyway. Yeah. But it got to a point to where I was like offended that somebody thought that they had that much control over me to where they can physically put me on the other side of the world in a desert and whatever. It wasn't political. It just sounded like a horrible trip. And like you said, I was waiting for months for that 10 days go. We got 10 days off for Christmas coming up. I can't wait because I was so burnt out. I was so frustrated. And the politics, some of the other politics, working with some of the boys and them trying to politic their way to make themselves look better during the match like I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Like I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, why do I have to run into the guy and just like bump into him? That's what I do is I do special moves. So why can't I go to do a kick and you duck it and boom, I kick him and turn around and feed? It would be the same thing, but I'd look better. They don't really like that kind of stuff here. That was what I was dealing with,
right.
Talking with the boys. And then what I don't think I finished earlier was like I called Paul. Paul said, you got to meet with Bruce. I met with Bruce. Then when I came in, they were both pulling at me from each arm, and it was ridiculous. Like Paul would say something to me, and be like, I got you this and this. They wanted to do this, but I told them this. This is the right thing to do. And then, later on I'd see JR and he'd say, hey, we did this for you. Your buddy Paul can't do that for you, can he? And it was literally, they were doing that back and forth. It was like, it was frustrating for him. I was like, dude, what the hell? And I guess when you're an office guy, if you bring a certain talent in that's getting over, I guess you get credit for that somehow. Because, every agent had their own guy who they were pushing. Yeah.
Man, just watching you tell these stories is funny, and watching some of your other interviews before you came over. You got a great Shawn Michaels. You got a great John Laurinaitis impression. Some of the people that you do, you nail dead on. I was on your website, robvandam.com, and so you do some stand-up stuff.
Yeah.
I was not aware of this.
No.
So what do you do in your stand-up act, and how'd you get into it?
So started doing that in 2006. I don't know if any other wrestlers were doing it at the time. I didn't know of any if they were. I am a trailblazer. But I was a fan of stand-up as a kid, and I always knew that someday I'm going to go up like on open night mic or some shit and try it. And I went to a comedy show, and Tim Chismar, the promoter, has a wrestling-themed comedy show where he puts like this comedian goes up, and then this comedian goes up, and he treats it like it was a match, and like who wins, he raises someone's hand. So I went there because it was gimmicky, and it was just like, dude, some of them were so bad. I was like, there's no way that I could be the worst. And he invited me, and that's how it started. I went up there. And,
was that in Hollywood or down
originally, I've been everywhere, all over. I think this was in Ontario Mills at the Improv, but I've done I haven't done the Laugh Factory, but I used to do John Lovitz all the time, and Comedy Store, and the Improv on La Brea, and the one on Hollywood, and anyway. So I enjoy it as an artist, and that's why I do it. It's fun for me. It's mentally stimulating, and it's not something that I'm looking to switch over into. And that's the thing is like so that's why I would only do it around L.A. and Vegas. I have a place out in Vegas, so these are both. I consider that's like my backyard. So. When I would get offers to travel to Texas and do stand-up, it's like, dude, I mean, I get paid a certain amount if I'm going to Texas, so I was only doing it local, but a couple times, and this is the second one coming up, I've done a tour. Another comedian books this, so what I have coming up is a 9-day tour, 9 days in a row across the Midwest, and then and we're going to film it, the whole road trip, and make a documentary out of it, and I'm stoked about that. But the whole thing for me is not like, just like with everything else in life, I'm not trying to be like somebody. Like right away when other comedians, were like, hey, if you want some help writing material, I'm like, dude, fuck you. How are you going to deliver my message? How's that going to work? And right away I was just like, and some of my first jokes were about that, about the other comedians and making fun of them.
So what's your set like? I mean, because like,
dude, I'm so dry. My sense of humor is so dry, and it's also like what other comedians call intelligent humor. So if you don't think I'm funny, that's on you.
Right.
So, for instance, I always looking for energy. I saw an inspirational speaker at a seminar, and I was watching right there from the crowd. Right, he was up on stage, and he said, "I got something for you to try. Live the rest of the day like it's your last." Because you never know when you could be walking down the street and bam, get taken out by a bus. I felt inspired. I felt like I could contribute. I stood up in front of everybody. I said, I got something for you to try. It's called the sidewalk, dude.
Here's one of those things that bothers the shit out of me, Rob. Right down the corner, there's a major intersection over there. I see these people, they're going to cross. They want to cross the street. They're standing on the corner, but they're looking at an iPhone. And all of a sudden they just glance up and they see that they see the white pedestrian light come on, and they just because they see the light go on, they'll just start walking across the street. When they didn't look left or right. Man, when I'm on the streets of Los Angeles, if I'm on the streets of Edna, Texas, which is 5,000 people, if I get the walk light, I'm head on a swivel. There's going to be a lot of things that might happen to me, Rob, but getting hit by a car that's not going to happen because I got my head on a swivel. So I dig that. So if you go up there, you got like a 5 or 7 minute set, or you got an hour set?
Hour.
Okay.
I did the last tour that I did, because I've only done one tour, and that was like in April. And the night before the tour, I stayed up writing jokes. The night before the first day. Stayed up all night writing. They wanted me to do 45, and I'd only done 30 up to that point, so I wanted to make sure I had enough material. I went up, I did an hour and 15, and so after that, I just do like an hour. But
was it the same as wrestling? Because I don't know how you were, man. I got my first match down there in Memphis. It was a little spot show. Dutch Mantel comes up and goes, kid, all we need is 8 or 10 minutes of you. Be working with a guy in a hood. Go out there and give us 8 minutes. I'm thinking, God damn, what I do for 8 minutes? I know you like to show off. Back in the day, I was a shy kid. What are you doing 8 minutes? Or what do you do for 8 minutes? But then it's like as you go, hey, I need 20, 30. That was kind of my sweet spot. So as a comedian, how did you get your chops up? Was it a process, or like, bam, you just started shitting out the 45-minute gigs?
No, I started with like 7 minutes, and then did a lot. And a lot of times now people want me to do 7 or 8 minutes because that's like a standard when there's a regular show and they want you to pop up on stage. And I'm like, artistically, now that I have like an hour, solid, plus, I can choose what I'm going to say in that hour because I have much more. What am I going to get out of doing it for 7 minutes?
Right. But how do you do you rehearse it that much? Because if you've written it, I mean...
Like I said, I'm not a planner, but what I do, so when I write it, though, I do try to remember, like, a road that goes through it, like I'm going to start talking about me, about my act or whatever, and then I'm going to talk about, maybe I'll talk about drinking, and I'm going to talk about, marriage, I'm going to talk about this, that, and so I try to remember that, and I don't always stick to the same thing, and like on the last tour, like the third night, I said at least 10 jokes I'd never said before, so I'm always,
Well, you go up there because, I don't know if it's ever happened to you, it's happened to almost everybody else in the wrestling business. Every now and then you just go out there and either the crowd ain't with you or you get lost. Has that happened to you on stage?
I have yet to bomb. The closest that I can say to saying not everyone's with me is I have done a couple what they call a workshop, which is like a real small bar, gas lamp in Long Beach, where there might be like 6 to 12 people there, and then them like if they're not laughing, then it's real quiet, and if they are laughing, it's not super loud, but
Right.
So I mean, I've been there where I'm trying out new stuff where like even if they're talking to each other, it sounds like they're not with because there's nobody there. But no, I haven't bombed, and although this is not a challenge, I have yet to have a heckler.
Are you prepared for a heckler? You're not a planner.
I'll handle it. Yeah, I'll handle it.
What kind of charge do you get out of the comedian type
Well,
stuff?
afterwards, it's I'm taking pictures with the fans, and they're saying like, "I had no idea you were that intelligent," and I'm like, "Yeah, how would you?" And that stimulates me. It gets my creative juices flowing. Afterwards, like for the next day, I'm thinking about all my other projects, and I'm like writing down notes for future things I'll develop later, not even related to that. And it's such a different kind of stimulation than someone saying, "I love your Rolling Thunder."
Right.
Yeah.
Question for you. I want to switch gears here for a second. You got a little bit more time in you?
Yeah, I'd love some water if it's possible.
Yeah. Let me grab your water, and let me also say swig of water to Onnit. Onnit makes Alpha Brain, and everyone listening knows that I don't podcast without Alpha Brain. And another swig of water to Onnit for their latest product, emulsified MCT oil. I know you guys are hearing a lot about MCT oil these days, and for good reason. It's one of the fastest sources for clean fuel for the body and the brain. It's one of the best ways to power up your performance or kickstart a weight management program, too. And the secret to MCT oil are the medium-chain triglycerides. These beneficial fats support a healthy brain and provide a vital source of energy. And, of course, no one is doing emulsified MCT oil like Onnit. It comes in 3 great flavors, coconut, vanilla, and strawberry. And here's the best part. It mixes easily into your morning coffee or afternoon iced tea without using a blender. Stir it in with a spoon and you're good to go. So there's no mess, no cleanup, and that means Onnit's emulsified MCT oil is a no-brainer. You can also mix it into oatmeal or yogurt. And right now, if you go to Onnit.com/Steve, you can get Onnit's emulsified oil for 12% off. And because it's Onnit, if you don't like it for any reason, you can get all your money back, no questions asked. So you ain't got nothing to lose. Go get yourself some emulsified MCT oil at Onnit.com/Steve and take advantage of the 12% off. That's ONNIT.com/Steve.
Steve Austin Unleashed.
All right, back here with Rob Van Dam. We're sitting here at 316 Gimmick Street. I had to make sure I pushed the correct button on this recorder. Rob, I was sitting here in the very seat that you're sitting on. Gabriel Iglesias, stand-up comedian, was right there.
Fluffy.
Yeah, fluffy, funny as fuck. And I didn't hit the record button. We lost it was an hour of platinum.
Oh.
We couldn't go back and recreate it because it'd been a shit to try to do it, so I had to make sure I hit the right button. Before I get into the question I was going to ask you, I just wrote down a couple of quick notes.
Okay, you got recording.
As we speak right now, it's Saturday.
You recording? Just joking.
Oh, yeah, we're recording.
I'm joking.
Yep,
because I'm fluffy.
You're not funny.
Call back. Okay, you're
Fluffy. Right. Okay, I'm recording. It's Saturday as we speak. So Saturday means it's college football day, and the UFC has a pay-per-view tonight. Are you a college football fan?
I am not.
Okay, are you a UFC fan?
I am.
Will you watch the pay-per-view tonight? It's Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson. It's going to be Henderson's last fight. They're fighting in England. Bisping is a champion. He beat Luke Rockhold. And so win, lose, or whatever happens, this is Hendo's last fight.
50-50 on whether I'll be able to watch it tonight or not.
Okay, you got something going tonight?
Well, I'm here now, and then I'm going to go bike riding at the beach. And by the time I get back home, there's a good chance that I won't want to come back out.
Dude, so you just get on? What do you got, like a mountain bike or something, or a beach cruiser or what?
Yeah, but I park my truck. I bring it with the
So you'll get on the front walk over in Venice.
All the
and
time.
Walk right all the way to Santa Monica.
Yeah, almost every Sunday. And like
Really?
about once a year, I'll actually park at the beginning of the bike path, which is Torrance Beach.
Torrance, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a small little sliver called Torrance Beach, and then it's Redondo. And I have ridden a few times. I've ridden from there all the way up to Malibu, to Santa Monica and then back, and it's a 40-mile round trip. So that's something when I want to ride all day. But otherwise, I ride Venice and Santa Monica all the time.
Now, dude, you're one of those kind of guys who just cruises around, or you're like the one on a mission, like trying to pedal and get your car
I'm
going?
not. I call those guys bike Nazis when they're cruising by. And they're like, out of the way or other
They
side.
got all the damn sponsors on the shirts or whatever. Got a bunch of names on the shirt. Okay.
I ride no-handed all day long, and for me, although it's fun, it's also from my perspective, that's part of my training. I'm working on balance. I'm working, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, all day corners. I challenge myself, and so people, whenever I ride, I'll hear on Twitter later on, dude, were you at Venice Beach today? I think I saw you. That was me riding.
Yeah, but what do you do when you get on the sidewalk? Because the sidewalk is kind of wavy, and then like it's supposed to be a bike path, but then you get the pedestrians who want to ride the whole thing. And you know, say on your left, or on your right. You know, trying to get them the fuck out of the way so they can come through.
Yeah.
Does that irritate you? Because some of the families will walk 5 by 5.
Right.
It's like, hey, you know, I understand you going double file, but help a brother out.
Right.
You know,
they're blocking the whole.
Yeah. There's no etiquette on the goddamn beach anymore.
Right. It doesn't make me angry, you know, because But exactly. But I do for a second go like, damn, you're hogging on, and then I'm like, oh well, they're family. I hope they're having a good day.
I've read that you rarely get mad. You've gotten mad before?
Yes. And when I do, I try to fix it afterwards. I feel like I failed.
But was that always the case? If Mula is barking, my wife just got home from eating brunch with her friend, so there's some discombobulation as there normally is here on this award-winning podcast, which ain't never won a fucking thing. Hey, there's my wife, Chris, and Chris with Rob Van Dam.
I'm going to walk Amy to her car.
Okay, see you later. Yeah, there's no etiquette on the beach anymore. And then so Sunday is tomorrow. You're not going to watch pro football, but there's a WWE pay-per-view. Will you watch the WWE pay-per-view?
I will not be watching it.
Okay, sir. Monday night is pro football, so I'm assuming you're not going to watch pro football based on your 2 previous answers.
That's correct. That's I could give you a list of the top things that normal guys are into, and I don't know if I'll hit one of them off the list. Another thing that makes me a nonconformist.
Okay, and then
sports,
based on your previous answers,
sports.
I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume.
There you go.
I shouldn't assume, but I would
Good
do
job, man. You're learning.
Okay,
we're growing.
I'm gonna surmise that you're not gonna watch WWE Monday Night Raws.
I will probably not catch that one.
Okay.
Yeah, by the way, back on smarts, my second grade teacher wanted me to skip a grade. She thought I was academically gifted, and then I became a goof off later on. And,
because it's too easy?
Well, that was my dad's theory. He always thought it was too easy, and I can't say for sure what made me want to get everyone to laugh at me and get their attention, but that was the path I took.
Hey, before I get into the next subject, I got something I want to do that I've never done before with a guest here
Holy
at the Steve
crap.
Austin Show.
I feel special.
I got this in the mail, Rob, and it says, congratulations, Stephen Austin. There's not an N in my name. It's Steve Austin. And it says, you are a finalist in our 2017 Toyota Prius Hybrid giveaway. And all I got to do is pull the tab off, and that's what I've done, Rob. And it's got a VIN number. When I pull this tab out, this thing's going to light out. I'm going to scratch this scratch-off thing there. Right there, see that silver circle?
Absolutely.
I'm going to scratch it off with a broken skull knife. And if it matches, I just pull that. Rob, you hold the lighted VIN number.
Got it.
And we're going to see right now with Rob Van Dam, we got good zen, we got good vibrations.
Positive energy.
Beach Boys.
Do it, Steve.
Okay, here it goes.
Good luck.
Okay. Rob.
All right, you got your winning numbers there?
My VIN number is, tell me if I win the Toyota Prius Hybrid. 8
Yes.
6
Yes.
0
Yes.
3
Yes.
6
Yes.
5.
You won, dude.
You lied,
You fucking won. That's exactly what that says.
86036. I just want a fucking Toyota Prius.
Fucking A, man.
You know this has got to be a work.
Glad I could bring that energy.
I can get a 2017 Toyota Prius Hybrid or $30,000 cash, and 2 is a Samsung 51-inch. I don't need a plasma TV, so I don't go to
Holy fuck, dude. I'd maybe read all the small print later on.
I got to read some small print. You don't,
dude, it looks
smart
good.
As you are, you ain't
Looks
got a lawyer
good.
background, do you?
I do not.
Oh, so you don't really know.
My wife used to accuse me of that every time we'd argue, though. Just because words are so important. Everyone, that's one thing that bothers me, that I would consider, like one of my pet peeves, is when I say something and then they go with their meaning, which is what people do, and then they reword it to their meaning. I don't think I've ever read anything about myself that's longer than a page in any magazine or anything that's 100% accurate. They take a little twist, and it's just, there's always like little things. But recently, a lot of people have asked me about. So we heard that you turned down a return to WWE recently. That didn't happen. And someone asked me if we talked, and I said that in October they reached out and we talked. But I was going through a lot of personal shit, and there's always a number when it's going to be worth it, right?
Right.
And I'm just saying what it would have been worth for me to do it, wasn't worth it for them. It just didn't work out. And then someone takes a twist on that, and everyone says, RVD turns down.
No, but I love the way you word that, because I picked that up in several interviews you've done. It's like, hey, man, I can be a gun for hire if you're willing to pay X price to make it worth my while. And then on the other end of that, you recognize that it may not be worth that amount of money to them. Yeah. And so no hard feelings. It's just a business transaction. If we can come together on it, cool, I'm good. But if not, I'm good as well.
That's it.
So, and turning something down. Anyway, whatever.
The shows that the wrestling that I do now, I've had like 5 matches this year. I got like 2 more on the books for this year. I'm not looking for any more than that, and I wouldn't be hurt if it was less than that. I wouldn't. When I do wrestle, it is because they meet my standards, which are up there, well above market. So, because I'm not looking to get out there every week like all of my peers are.
Dude, I dig that. I mean, I think it's important to set a standard and stick by that standard. But before I move on to the subject that I wanted to get to a while ago, as you
congratulations on the Prius.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, I'm assuming I think I want a Toyota Prius. Boy, if I did, put some 24-inch rims on it, drop in a 427.
They're great on gas, dude.
God damn it. Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes it's not the Prius that pisses me off, Rob. For many times, many episodes I would rant about the Toyota Prius. In and of itself, the technology is spectacular. And when you hail a cab around here, I don't know if you ever ride any cabs, back in the day.
Ubers now.
Okay, but anyway, when we was back on the road, the Crown Vic, a lot of people are in the Crown Vic. And they're like cockroaches. You just can't kill them. Same with the Lincoln Town Car. But as a taxi, when you got to get in the back seat, there ain't no fucking room back there. But the Toyota Prius, as small as that little sumbitch is, there's way more leg room. So I've come to appreciate it. Now that I potentially have won one, I'm going to drive that motherfucker with pride. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the Steve Austin show on the side of that motherfucker.
I'm starting to wonder, is it possible that Toyota is a sponsor of the show?
No, dude, it's a rib. Ain't no way I want a fucking car. I'm going to call somebody. They're going to be in a different country. They're going to give me the rigmarole, the runaround.
I don't know.
We got a damn dryer in my
Maybe not, dude.
I got a dryer in the garage. We've been calling 2 different companies about trying to get this motherfucker out of here because it's broken and it's brand new. But before we do that, I'm going to settle my energy down, go back into the zen. And I've got a book in my hands. I've got to read this thing in 6 days because Jesse Ventura is coming here on the 13th.
Yes, I need to get the copy of that myself.
This is the Marijuana Manifesto. Now, so I don't know what it's about, but I was listening to some of your interviews on YouTube, and you were talking about it potentially being or not being a performance-enhancing drug. And, way back in the day when you were in ECW, you were doing your thing. You kind of had the, as written as Wikipedia, the stoner-type persona. All of a sudden, someone held up a RVD 420 sign, and you're like, hey, man, I'm going with that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So when did you start smoking marijuana?
Age 21. I was on a wrestling trip in Jamaica's first wrestling tour, and at this in Kingston at Coney Island Amusement Park, which I don't believe is there anymore. But all the boys were so excited because they had so much, handfuls of this, and I wasn't into it at all because I was taught in school that it's dangerous, it's a hallucinogenic, and it's categorized with heroin and acid, like bad news.
And at 21, if I can jump in here, I mean, I'm guessing you didn't drink. I never knew you to be a drinker, dude, but
right.
I mean, we never hung around together.
Right.
I just figured you was a smoker because I was a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
I tried to smoke dope. It just made me feel like, oh, I'd say something and I would think, oh, that didn't sound very good. So I wasn't a dope guy. Alcohol, thumbs up. So back to Jamaica. There you are. You're 21.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, drinking the Red Stripe beer when I was in Jamaica, and that was cool. But I definitely wasn't a heavy drinker.
You wasn't guzzling?
No. People that saw me the first part of this year, they saw. I heard so many times from people, Rob, you're drinking, But yeah,
I heard you was pretty shit-faced. But again, you had some shit going on.
I did.
But so tell me about
and I'm better.
Your indoctrination into marijuana. And your thoughts on it now, because you went into a real interesting speech about talking about from the performance enhancing part of it, like, was it a sativa or this or that? And I'm like, man, this motherfucker knows his dope.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm an advocate, and I speak to the college. I'm for Prop 19 several years ago, so we have Prop 64 coming up next month. We have 9 states that are going to be voting on legalizing marijuana. 5 of them recreational, and the rest are medicinal. We have 24 states with medicinal marijuana programs right now, plus the District of Columbia has recreational and medicinal. And it wasn't like that back then, when
right.
it was a total different world. So it was like some of the first things I heard, like I remember Tracy Smothers saying, hey man, keep that on the down low. If you want to smoke a little gimmick, do that on the side. But they're going to be, you're going to open yourself up to trouble. They're going to be checking you at the airports and everything. And he had a valid point, but it didn't scare me away from it. And the more I learned about it.
But back in the day, not everybody was smoking. There was it was around. It wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Quick question. I'm talking slang over here. Does it offend you when I call it dope?
No.
Okay. So smoking dope, going back to the to where you're at right now with it, and how would it change your life at 21 because you've been smoking it, you're 45 now? Any detrimental health effects like, with smoking the lungs or anything like that? 0%
that I know of. And I actually have a project that I don't want to get into too much where I'm going to be looking at all of that because I'd like to know and I would like to share the truth with everybody. And by the way, I'm the most honest person that I know. I am. I don't know how many people can say that about themselves, but I don't lie. There's exceptions to everything. I mean, I will tell the officer, no, I don't have anything to drink tonight,
Gotcha.
Whatever. But I pride myself on being genuine, and people pick up on that. And I try to also be transparent, and that's something that's important to me.
Here's the thing that happened to me. This was almost 8 to 10 years ago. I was standing in line at the Bank of America in Venice, right down on the beach. You've seen it. And I was standing there just minding my own business, waiting to put a check in. And someone said, hey, man, Steve, what's going on? I said, hey, what's going on? He shook my hand. He goes, hey, man, I'm a friend of RVD's. He goes, here's my business card. It had one of the little, green gimmick crosses on it, whatever.
Little bald dude, right?
Yeah. I said, I can't remember the guy's name. He goes, hey, man, I own a medicinal marijuana place down the street. He's going to stop by. I'll hook you up. I'm like, dude, I said, I don't smoke. He goes, you don't smoke? He says, why? I mean, it was beyond him. He could not understand. Maybe being here in Cali, maybe me being one of the boys, he couldn't understand why I didn't smoke dope. And I tell him, I said, dude, I'm a drinker.
Yeah.
Tell me about all these medicinal marijuana things that are popping up everywhere around the place.
And by the way, my friend Sean
nice
Cush,
dude.
Yeah, he's like a little kid. Sean Cush, they own the medical marijuana, the beach dispensary and Medical Kush Beach Club. And the other location. Anyway, he's like a little kid. He's one of those guys that, like, when I'm around him, it's so frustrating because he's like a little kid. He's one of those, why do you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you call so-and-so and tell him this? There is no why. You know what I mean? He does that. He doesn't mean to, but he just pulls the energy out of me until I blow up on him every once in a while. Say, shut the fuck up. It's if you ask me why it's so important to me, the legalize movement, I would say, I guess I could sum it up by saying it's a right that needs to be, it's a wrong that needs to be righted, right? But with cannabis, it is something that I have known for a long time that a lot of people could benefit from. And on the medicinal side, it's been, why are you smiling?
Because I got a story for you.
On the medicinal side, it's been said that it could replace up to 80% of pharmaceuticals, which is, by the way, why it's prohibited. We could use it for fuel. There's over 25,000 products that we can make from hemp, the plant or the seed, and the only reason that it's prohibited is so the rich can get richer.
Interesting.
Yeah. I go into that, but you want to tell your story first?
Man, I was talking to a friend of mine that smoked a lot of dope, and I said, man, I'm trying to quit drinking. I don't need to drink as much as I have been drinking, bees or unless you get the munchies. If you take out the alcoholic calories, I've had, man, I'll give smoking dope another try. So I had two different people who had two different clinics. And the different grades and stuff. I mean, it's endless. So they gave me two pretty badass joints, and I put them in like a prescription pill container, and put them in my cabinet, in my RV. I'm just trying to kayfabe two little fucking joints, right?
You can smell them.
I feel like a criminal, dude. We're rolling through a check station on the way to South Texas, and all I got is two joints, but I can smell it, and I'm driving a diesel rig. And I can smell it, and I'm thinking, oh, man, they got the dogs, the Belgian Malinois, Malinois, whatever, go drive, walk around the vehicle. I'm thinking, man, they're going to smell these two joints, and I'm going to get popped in this motherfucker because it's a notorious spot in Texas where all the big-time smokers get popped because they got so much dope.
Was it El Paso?
It was Sierra Blanca.
Oh, okay.
Right outside.
I got a book of stories that probably end up different.
Look up Sierra Blanca. You will. That's the only time because I don't carry any drugs and I don't smoke dope. So once we drove our 500-mile destination to Tucson, while I was hooking up the RV to the water and the power, I had to go out there and hit that joint and smoke about a quarter of it. Get my buzz. And so I went out there and hit the joint, and I was like, I'm going to smoke half of it, but I know what kind of effect it was going to have because, they talk about all this high-powered shit from Vancouver and stuff like that. I want to get my dick knocked in the dirt out there trying to fumble around and shock myself.
Right.
But I think I tried it. The next night I tried it as well. And I was just like, man, it didn't really do anything for me. So I just went back to my drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it's good that you bring that up. Like, first off, I got to say that I don't think that kids should stray from being sober whatsoever. Your brain is still developing. It's wet cement till you're like, 26 or something?
100%, brother.
Yeah. So I got to put that out there because a lot of people are concerned that I'm a role model and at the same time that I'm an advocate. But now the country is shifting. Most Americans think it should be legal, and there are some kids that really need the CBD oils just to be normal. Kids that have seizures and some of these problems where they're dying and they're not enjoying life. And there's so many stories now, and we've seen it on TV with Weed Maps. Sanjay Gupta did these things on CNN where he showed everybody for the first time that CBD doesn't even have the THC in it. You're not going to die, and you can take drops of it. And these kids, they go from 100 seizures a week to a couple, and they're feeling great. So no question about it. Some people can benefit, but I've never been someone that thinks everybody should do it.
It's like if all your ducks in a row, you're cool. I mean, you don't necessarily need to just go out and start smoking a bunch of marijuana. But if it's something that you could benefit from,
right? And it could replace. It could replace. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So definitely, it's.
I'm not anti. I'm not pro. I'm just watching.
But I do. For sure, people shouldn't be locked up and thrown in jail for it. It's a plant. And the thing, a couple facts. One fact. This is the one fact. If I can only say one thing, I don't know if you know this or not. Do you know how many people have overdosed from marijuana in the history of the planet?
0.
Do you know how many people die as a direct result from smoking cigarettes?
0.
No.
50, cigarettes. Okay.
50% of long-term cigarette smokers die. Me and you smoke cigarettes our whole life. One of us dies from that. So obviously something is backwards in the education and the focus there. And when I was talking about the rich get richer, that is why it was prohibited, so that William Randolph Hearst could make his money chopping 20-year-old trees down instead of an annual crop that delivers better fiber and is healthier for the environment to process. He didn't want that. They wanted the Rockefeller and the oils. You could Henry Ford. Do you know? I don't know if you know this. Henry Ford made a car out of hemp, and it ran on hemp seed oil. And he wanted all of us to be able to have our own stills and be self-supplying. And of course, the rich don't want that, and they just had a patent for nylon before that, and they totally went into that and destroying our earth and all that. But the truth is that that most of the negative information that we've gotten since 1936 on marijuana has been bullshit, put out there intentionally by the government. If you saw the movie Reefer Madness, that is exactly what they used. They used that movie Reefer Madness and went around and showed that to all the parents to scare them off this new drug.
Right.
So now we're like, okay, you know what? It does. Most people know it doesn't make you violent or crazy. Most people know that it does have some medicinal benefits, even if they don't know all of them. But they don't know that the federal government still has it classified as a total non-medicinal drug, a Schedule I. Even though they have their own synthetic THC pill they've sold forever, even though they have the patents on using marijuana for neurological protectants when they're able to develop those drugs, but still it's a Schedule I, and they just recently said they're not going to reclassify it. Schedule I means the most dangerous for your health and for society, and totally non-medicinal, and that is their stance. That's why if you smoke pot, even if it's state legal, the feds can, by law, come in, throw you in jail, shoot your dog, and sell your house.
Right, still a drug offense at the federal level, but let's talk a little bit more about that, and specifically your thoughts on marijuana in the NFL. And speaking of the NFL, you can win a lot of money playing one-week fantasy football at DraftKings.com. And here's why you should be playing fantasy football at DraftKings. Because you ain't got to worry about poor performers taking up a spot on your lineup or even a place on your bench. I'm talking about players like Rams running back Todd Gurley or Eddie Lacy on the Packers. And that means none of these guys are generating points for your season-long fantasy team. At DraftKings, you're not stuck with the same lineup week after week. You can draft a different quarterback, receiver, running back, and tight end every time you play. You won't be up at 2 in the morning trolling the waiver wire looking for someone to replace your latest injured player. At DraftKings.com, you're never out of the money, and if you use my promo code UNLEASHED, you can play for free with your first deposit. And this is a good weekend to do it because DraftKings is hosting another huge fantasy contest with over $1 million in total prizes up for grabs. So get to DraftKings.com now and choose your players for this weekend's contest. And if you use my promo code UNLEASHED, you can play for free with your first deposit. That's promo code UNLEASHED to play for free for your share of over $1 million in total prizes this weekend, only at DraftKings.com. Eligibility restrictions may apply. See website for details.
Steve Austin, Unleashed.
Man, what do you think about some of the NFL players getting popped for smoking dope? I mean, that's whether it's first, second, third suspension. If it's legal in their state,
yeah.
I mean,
well,
I don't know if it's the National Football League, but
yeah.
Out of all the things that a professional athlete could do, dude, smoking a little herb, I just can't see a problem with that. The beating those guys are throwing down on each other, and you can't smoke a joint or whatever on your free time. I don't know if I can, I give those guys a little bit of leeway. I think I get a pass.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so look at it this way. Rob, you got a running back. He runs a 4.40. Okay, he smokes some dope, 2 days after the game. Next time he lines up on Sunday, I don't think it's going to be a performance enhancer for him.
I don't either.
So it's going to help him chill out and maybe, get his mind off of football and make his body relax.
And I don't know what this guy's medical conditions are. I mean, we first learned they can help with glaucoma, and now we're finding out that it actually kills cancer cells. So as the science is coming in, everything is going to change. Perception changes. There's more allowance for it, but there's still... even if your state says it's okay, doesn't mean that your landlord says it's okay, right, or the company that you work for. Might not be okay by their policy, but that will change.
What about driving under the influence of smoking dope? So does it change? You said perception. Let's talk about depth perception. I've, back in the day, been behind the wheel of something when I was drinking something. Never again. That was back in the day. And no one should ever do that. But smoking dope, what does that do for the – we can't speak for most people. What does it do for you? Any change? You cool?
So first off, I have to point out how vague the question is because, like, when you say I tried dope once, that'd be like me saying I tried to drink once and here's what it did to me. You would say, well, did you have a beer or were you drinking, like, Absolute or were you drinking Everclear? Was it a wine cooler? You would never think that all alcohol has the same effect. But people look at pot that way.
Right.
And you don't know if it was a sativa, an indica, a hybrid. You don't know.
What are those? Sativa, indica.
Yeah, so they're different. They're just a hybrid is a cross between the two of them, which most pot nowadays is a hybrid because they've developed a system of growing to a point. They do everything indoors with a certain amount of light down to the exact minute throughout the day, and the water, and they cross pollinate. This plant and this plant. And so anyway, they're just two separate. So a sativa, there's plenty of sativas, and each one is going to have a different percentage of THC, right. different breakdown of like 90 different components that make that plant, what it is. And the sativa is generally looked on as more of a head changer, more of a functioning high, whereas an indica is more of a go to sleep, more numbing your pain, that kind of thing. So that's the easiest way to describe that. But then when it comes to the percentages, marijuana might have like 7% THC in it. If you get like top shelf, you go and I want to get the top shelf best, weed that you have, you might find something that's like 24% THC. In the flower. Now you go to the concentrates, you can get like 95% THC in the wax. And that's the way that people are consuming the medicine now, is by vaporizing it, through a pen or doing dabs with a rig. It's down to a science now where they have it so concentrated. And on the other side, the more concentrated it is, the less filler that you have. No, less right. of whether it's chloroform or whether it's the they used to use butane to blast it. Now they've got it to where it's a solventless concentrate, so that's why it's so high. So there's a big difference in everything, and everyone is affected different by it as well. So how it would affect people driving would have to do with their own chemical reaction to it and their experience. Like, here's something too. People that smoke around the clock, especially out here in California where it's part of the culture, a lot of my friends are 24/7 smokers. They wake and bake. They do everything. Then there's the other people that do it once in a while that think like, dude, have you ever smoked a joint and then watched like Strange Days? Dude, those people, they think that the way they're affected is the way everyone is affected. Right. So in their mind, hell no one should be driving a car. No one should even go out in public when they're high. Right. They don't understand. Everybody's different.
Right.
So a test for driving would have to be done on your present condition, whether it's, and it really shouldn't even probably be like an amount, like a nanogram amount of THC. It should be based on coordination, something like that, I would think, because the fact that everyone's different, it makes it hard to pinpoint the right thing to do in a conversation like that. The federal government started a program, like I think in '91 with George Bush Sr., where they had medical patients. Just a few. They closed the program down, but there's still some grandfathered in. There was 7. Now I think there's maybe like 5. They're dying off. But one of them, Irvin Rosenfeld, this guy, he does plenty of documentaries. Because he's outspoken, and he shows you a coffee can he gets filled with joints that he gets from the federal government. And he's got this painful disease where he's got bone spurs and it's really painful. But he tells you, he's a day trader of stocks. And he tells you, I smoke 2 joints, right before I get behind the wheel and I drive to work. I smoke 2 more when I'm there and then on lunch. And he totally will blow away anybody's stereotypes. And I'm just so glad that the actual science is coming out. Science. Let's actually look at it and forget about all the myths and all the bullshit that's out there.
What about you personally, since you're an advocate for, like, how often do you use?
Because
going back to the ECW stories, I mean, y'all would be in the parking lot, y'all's group. Some guys would come and go, but you guys were just out there. Yeah.
So here's a question that by answering it with just giving the facts out there, I have to be careful about that because certain people could take that and then use it to come up to their own conclusions or whatever. So let's just say I can hang with anybody like a superhero, and at the same time, if I take time off of it, there's not that big of a difference. So when I returned to WWE in 2013, they have a wellness program. You get fined if you get popped with a positive test. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to take the time off. It should be good for me to clear out or whatever. Anyway, I took 4 months off. No problem whatsoever. Some people that think it's addictive, I can't say if maybe certain people have that chemical reaction to it. I certainly never have, and I don't know people that do. But I can smoke heavy day after day, week after week, and then boom, if I want to, just not smoke. And for the conversation, the only difference is that I noticed, because I thought, okay, I'm going to be more productive, I'm going to be more clarity. I didn't notice any of that. What I did notice was I had more vivid dreams off of it. And I didn't find out till later. They said that marijuana suppresses dreams. I'd never read that, but I did know it'd been a long, long time since I remembered having a dream. And when I stopped vividly, even if it was a quick nap, I would just remember everything. And the other thing, which is a surprise, is when I was off of it, I could handle more tasks on my to-do list. I would get overwhelmed more when I'm medicated, looking at, oh my God, I got so much to do today. That was the only thing that I noticed.
So that would be a con rather than a pro.
Not necessarily.
If you had to define it as something, well, come on.
As far as being overwhelmed, I would say being overwhelmed would be more of a con than a pro. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sure.
Okay, so then if you're a guy that uses, so is your I'm going to say go-to, but I will, for lack of a better phrase, I'm not a rocket scientist. Do you like the hybrid, the Cativa, the other one you said? What's your go-to type thing? Or are you just like all over the place? Hey, man, I'll try some this shit, I'll do some this. Or
no,
you're too damn educated, too smart to this. So
right.
What are you looking for?
So
you remember the scene in Pulp Fiction?
Of course.
When Eric Stoltz is selling the heroin to John Travolta,
yeah.
He goes, "This is the Choco, this is the Madman. What's the difference?" Well,
I just came back from Amsterdam. So,
yeah, you know the deal.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for?
Yeah. So, if I'm not going to, like, if fans come up to me with like really like shitty weed and a pipe, hey, can we get, no, dude, go clean that thing up, it's gross, whatever. Yeah. And, I prefer sativa, especially, I like to function and think, but there are times when you want to chill, relax, maybe you want to sleep, maybe you want to fight jet lag, maybe it's back pain or whatever. There are times, where an indica would be better. So they all have their use. A story I just want to bring up really quick, because I think you're going to be touched by this, and if not, I don't see how the fuck you couldn't be. But so my wife had cancer, right? And she was going through treatment up at the City of Hope, which is one of the biggest cancer research centers in the country. And we were at a meeting for diets and nutrition. And there was a lady that was on stage, and there's a bunch of patients listening to her. And I saw some old lady raise her hand, and she said, "What could I do to stimulate my appetite?" She says, "Because I'm just wasting away, and I can't eat very much. I try, but and when I get it down, sometimes I just throw it up." And the lady on stage goes, "Well, that's a problem you're going to have. The chemotherapy, causes nausea. Just make an effort. Just really try. There's little things you can do, like sprinkling powdered milk on your food. It'll give it more calories." And then I raised my hand. I'm like, "What about medical marijuana?" And she said, "I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not allowed to bring it up, but since you brought it up, a lot of patients get a lot of benefits from medical marijuana. It stimulates their appetite. It helps with their pain. It helps them sleep. It helps with nausea." And I was just offended that, and I still am, that City of Hope in California would have a policy to let these people suffer and die instead of giving them something that's fucking legal and helpful. You know what I mean? That is so offensive to me. I don't see how somebody could not care. For a while,
that was their policy.
For a while, I wanted to change their policy. I was trying to join the board, because you had to attend these certain meetings to join the board. And I went to the meeting and was going to follow up. And I guess I got too busy. But that's still changes that I would love to think that I made a change, and that these patients were getting something to make them feel comfortable while they're
I agree
suffering.
with that wholeheartedly.
Hell yeah.
Well, and that puts the medical and medical marijuana. Fuck, if it ain't for something that can help you, what the fuck is it for?
Right. But also, on the other end of the extreme, I also, I know that marijuana usage can just help with stress, which is something that so many people live with, and are used to living with it, and are dying from it. And they don't even know. Just being stressed out, I can tell stress ages me. If I'm worried about something, I remember when my wife and I got in like one of our first really bad fights, I saw one of my first white hairs come out like that day. And I feel the stress like pulling me down and aging me, and so that's why my goal, as I said earlier, is to always keep my vibration as tuned up and as high frequency output as I can, so that I always feel like I'm at my best. I do feel like, although not everyone should do it, that a lot of people who have just stressful lives could have a lot better life if they just use this. And some people, they say, well, I do, but I take pills, prescriptions from my doctor.
Right.
Well, we know what that can do for you.
But I'll tell you what, I don't sleep worth a shit. And I have to take a sleep medication, and I still don't sleep. And I won't raise it up because I did that back in my wild days, and I'm just trying to live up what I construe or consider a normal life. I may not ever be normal, come from the business I've come from. Right. But we were talking with this lady one time, and she was a dog walker. And she said, hey, your dogs ever use CBDs? And she started cannabinoids. She started explaining them to us. And I said, hey, if you can't sleep, you could try them, and it might help you sleep. So CBDs is one of the things I've been wanting to try. Like, I don't know what would they come in, like wrapped in paper or a pill or whatever. But that's something that I've been wanting to try just to see if it would help my sleep problem.
Yeah, and it might work.
I don't want to smoke a joint because I just told you my dope smoking experience. But the CBDs, even though it doesn't have a THC, for some reason, have some qualities that people say can help you maybe get a better restful night of sleep.
We're just really starting to look at all the benefits that can come from CBDs, and so far it's amazing. And like some of the first accounts that I hear from people are even hard to believe, where they say they put it on a spot that's really been hurting them, and they feel better. It's like it's hard to believe, but it is very useful, and you can get CBDs in any form. You can smoke it or you can eat it, but for usually the medicinal usage, like what they do for kids, the application is done through a beaker. A lot of people call it an eyedropper, but you put it in your mouth, and it's a concentrated form. And good luck. It may work for you, it may not.
I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll be a CBD taker.
By the way, all states have some legal form of CBDs.
Hey, check it out. We've been talking for a couple hours. I'm gonna do this for 2 parts. It's been a great conversation. But is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, plug, bring up, discuss?
Not really, man. I've enjoyed shooting the shit with you.
It's been fun. Is there anything you want to plug? I know you got some dates coming up, because October 17th was one of your gigs coming up.
Let's see. I don't know what's the 7th. I'm going to be in Boston the weekend of October 21st through the 23rd, super mega fucking con. And then I have a match in Torrance on November 11th. A lot of people are excited about that one. And then I have a comedy tour that I go on immediately after that in November. And then I'm going to Chile to wrestle in December. And, I did 3 movies last year, and through networking and connections, that has led to some big projects coming up that I'm not really talking a lot about, but I want everyone to know that I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. The reason you don't see me on TV is because wrestling is because I also enjoy not being there and enjoy doing other things. And you can always keep up with me at The Real RVD on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that.
You had a great career in the business of pro wrestling. You still take shots, but now doing less, and now that you have time to do more. It took me a while to understand that there could be life after wrestling, because I was so immersed, man. I lived, ate, sleep, shit the business. That's how much I loved it.
That's why you got as far as you got.
Yeah, and I remember Paul Orndorff was the guy that told me after he had his arm thing and had some neck issues, and he goes, Steve, there is life after wrestling. And I said, there is? He goes, you're damn right there is. And so it seems to be that you found that.
Yeah, wrestling, it's always going to be a big part of my life, I imagine. When I say always, maybe not, I don't know, but at least for the foreseeable future, it'll always be what people identify me with, and that's great. But I'm doing other things, and a lot of entertainers in any field are afraid to be off the camera. They say out of sight, out of mind, you know, and you only got like so much time before you forget about you. I've never worried about that. I'm always trying to figure out how to do less, and I appreciate all the affection and the love that I get from the fans, and I need that positive energy. I count on that, but at the same time, you know, I'm not out there like looking for work. I have creative projects that are important to me that I spend maybe an appropriate amount of time on, maybe not, but I'm the one to judge that. You know, going to ride my bike at Venice Beach, I'm looking forward to that. I don't want to be in, no offense, but I don't want to be in Columbus, Ohio, or wherever they are today, you know?
Right. Hey, and last question, I'm real famous for making last questions, but when you fell into this deep, you wanted to learn more about the mafia, you just dove into that. When the movie,
yeah, we didn't talk about that at all.
You've read just about every single. Well, we'll come back and we'll do it again. But I guess my question in closing is, how much time will you spend during a day when you immerse yourself? It sounds like, man, you're all in. So can you just sit there and read all day and retain all that information? Because in listening to some of your other interviews, I mean, man, you were coming up with Billy Wilkerson, who got X'd out by Siegel. And everybody says Siegel started the first casino, but it was Wilkerson.
Did you know that, or you got that from listening?
No, I got that from listening to you.
Nice.
And you were having a hard time remembering Billy Wilkerson, but you knew all your shit. So are you good at reading all that stuff and retaining it?
Pretty good, but just like anybody, certain things are going to stick with us longer because of how our personal values react to it. You know, so there's certain exciting stuff and names. I got into Hollywood history like around 2010 and became such a fan, like Charlie Chaplin, and especially the 20s. Like that time was so interesting to me because actors were looked down upon, and then like it seemed like overnight they're gods, and people didn't want them in their hotels and in their restaurants at first because they were like dogs. You know, it was the Christian times. These people are working all night and sleeping in the day, which is the devil's work. They do drugs and have sex with each other. They were horrible. We don't want actors or dogs allowed. And then after a while, you know, then it was like, hey, so-and-so got their haircut here. And that part is fascinating to me, that part of time. Yeah. Like when Hollywood was a big field and they were trying to sell real estate and they put the sign up in 1923 to sell real estate. I love that. And that passion took me to Bugsy Siegel because he was here, and then he went to Vegas, and my passion went to Vegas. I love Vegas history, and I became quite a mafia history geek, and I retain it like a geek.
Let's revisit this on another conversation. I'll brush myself up because I'm enamored with that stuff. I love all the gangster movies.
Can we put Billy Wilkerson over for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Billy Wilkerson started the Hollywood Reporter. Billy Wilkerson discovered Lana Turner was it at Schwab's? No, they always say it was at Schwab's, but that was false. It was actually a different store, I think, called Top Hat. Anyway, he also owned the nightclubs like Ciro's, which is now the Comedy Store, and the Trocadero, and he was a very interesting character that should have his own book, and he started building the Flamingo until he ran short on funds, and then when Bugsy Siegel finished it, he gets all the credit for all of Vegas now.
Here's the last thing. This is a real deal last thing, because it just gave me the go-home cue. Blackjack Lance just walked by and waved his tie. You were from Battle Creek, Michigan. You ended up in Los Angeles, California. What brought you specifically to Los Angeles, California? Because you had the whole United States to pick from, and here you are.
It was the other side of the TV. You know, I grew up in a small town where nobody knew anybody famous, and I remember when I first learned that my name, Robert, means famous. And and I just felt like that's my destiny. Wow, that's so cool. And I wanted to be on the other side of the TV. I was watching Chop Saki martial arts movies, you know, and now I do those, and it's awesome, you know, that I was able to do that. I watched wrestling and I do that, and it was like it was part of fulfilling a dream, and that was as far as I could see going with the limited exposure and knowledge I had as a kid. Was just that there's a beach and there's an ocean, and and Jaws is there. I want to go check that out. Yeah.
And Lance is waving the tie. How long have you been here?
Since 98.
Your favorite thing, only one thing, your favorite thing about Los Angeles?
The weather.
Okay, mine too.
Oh, my God. People don't realize it when they don't come out here. They don't know how comfortable it is. And anytime I'm anywhere else, I'm outside of L.A. I'm outside of California, and I just...
That's the number one reason I stay, mister.
Yeah, it's expensive here, but when I go to Florida and I step out and I need a shower, even though I just took one, and I'm miserable, it's like...
And Floridians are used to that. Man, I went down to Miami, and we used to wrestle there back in the day, but man, I went down to Miami to promote the Expendables several years back. And it felt like I was wearing a turtleneck sweater that was wet. Yeah. I mean, that's how bad it was. I'm coming from South Texas, but now because I've been out here for 12 years, man, I'm a weather sissy. This is the best weather.
Yeah, I am
24/7, 365.
I was in Orlando
in
crying like a bitch a couple of weeks ago, like a big family to get together, and I'm hiding in the shade going, I want to go inside. Hey, can I tell you something funny about how long I've been here? I found in my truck, like last week, I had a 2003 Thomas guide. Do you remember the Thomas guides?
Yeah.
What the hell? That was, of course, before GPS.
You know your way around the streets now?
Yeah.
I got to use Siri, man.
I use it.
My wife's born
I use
and raised
Waze.
here. Yeah. She keeps telling me to get the Waze app.
I love it. Waze takes you through parking lot shortcuts.
I know, but man, when they call an audible, man, it's got like calling a different high spot, man. I thought you were gonna call this. You get the old switcheroo on me.
Yeah.
I'll get turned around. And I'll just stick to the task at hand.
Okay.
I got a buddy out here. All he rides is the alleys. When I first came out to L.A., I was like, dude, why are you in the alley? He goes, because this is where you can move.
Yeah.
If you get out there, you can't move. Yeah. All right, I'm shutting it down. Now give us a go-home cue. Rob Van Dam, I appreciate you coming over. Right on Twitter, you are?
The Real RVD. Congratulations on your Prius.
Okay, so before we really wrap things up, one last swig of water from my close personal friend and longtime sponsor, Diamond Dallas Page and his DDP Yoga. Y'all know that DDP Yoga has changed thousands of lives, including the lives of some of your favorite pro wrestlers. Jake the Snake, Scott Hall, Mick Foley, AJ Styles, and of course, Chris Jericho. And DDP Yoga can change your life too. And believe me when I say Dallas has made it real easy for you to get on the program. His new DDP Yoga Now app means you can do DDP Yoga anytime, anywhere, and you can do it right from your phone or tablet. And the app has a lot more than just the workouts on it. By connecting to a Bluetooth heart rate monitor, you can track your calories and heart rate in real time. You can track your pain, measurements, and progress photos too, all for free in the app. And like I said, you've got tons of workouts to choose from. The original DDP Yoga workouts, the new 2.0 workouts, and weekly live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center. And to make it even easier than he's already made it for a limited time, you can get the DDP Yoga DVDs for 15% off, plus 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. That's ddpyoga.com/Austin to take advantage of this great deal. Commit now. Change your life now. Go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to get started. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up his podcast and ride off into the sunset. Before I do that, I want to say thanks again to Rob Van Dam for spending a couple hours here at 316 Gimmick Street. Guys got a lot going on, including an upcoming comedy tour. And if you want to see him do stand-up, go to robvandam.com for dates and ticket info. You'll also find his wrestling dates there. He's still doing matches here and there. As far as something to watch this week, if you can find it on YouTube, or if you can find it on the WWE Network, or maybe just the website, WWE.com, they might or should have Goldberg's return to Monday Night Raw. I'll tell you what, I watched this from start to finish, and I was excited to see how Bill would do out there in the squared circle. And that crowd, I believe they were in Denver, if I'm not mistaken, absolutely went crazy for Goldberg, doing the chant, and then they did the sparklers and lit up the pyro, and Goldberg was standing there, and he breathed them in, and he breathed out, and he blew that smoke ring. I thought that was pretty damn cool. And then the real good stuff started happening. Goldberg gets in the ring, and that crowd just really, really gives him a hell of a damn pop. And you can see that Bill is very emotionally moved at this point. And you got a guy like Bill Goldberg, this just bull of a human being. He's one of the nicest guys I know. But you get in there and you get that kind of response. And I know that had to feel like $1 billion to him, and because you always wonder how you're going to be received. I thought the crowd was emotional. I thought Bill Goldberg's emotions were obviously, he's kind of moved, almost tearing up. He's trying to keep it together. And then he dropped a great promo by Bill Goldberg, setting up. We'll see what Brock Lesnar answers next time they go back, I guess, coming up this week on Raw. But if you can find that, maybe it's on WWE.com, maybe it's on YouTube. But I really popped hard. Real glad to see Goldberg show up, and it's going to be interesting to see that pay-per-view event. But just the response generated by the fans and Goldberg's reactions is priceless. That's what pro wrestling is. Anyway, hey man, ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin is about to have a whole bunch of new T-shirts, all the ones I wore to film the new season of Broken Skull Challenge. And those things are also on BrokenSkullRanch.com. Also, folks, the best damn IPA on planet Earth is Broken Skull IPA at El Segundo Brewing Company. If you're coming by the L.A. area, stop by the brewery at 140 Main Street there in El Segundo, California. In Cali, you can find it at Whole Foods and Total Wines. If you don't live here, check out InsideTheCellar.com or BrokenSkullRanch.com to see if they ship to your state. Hey, man, I appreciate y'all supporting the sponsors of the Steve Austin Podcast. They're the ones who let me do this for you free twice a week. So big thanks to DDPYoga.com. Go to DDPYoga.com/Austin to get 15% off the DDP Yoga program and 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app. To DraftKings, go to DraftKings.com and use the promo code Unleashed to play for free with your first deposit this weekend. To Onnit, go to Onnit.com/Steve to get 12% off their new emulsified MCT oil. To Simply Safe, go to simplysafeaustin.com to get free shipping on your order and a keychain remote valued at $25. And to BetDSI, sign up at betdsi.com and use the promo code Austin25 to get $25 free just for trying the service. And of course to Amazon, who have been supporting this podcast since day one. And Amazon is the best place to get the Steve Austin Broken Skull Knife by Cold Steel Knives. Just $75 for the most badass pocket knife on the planet, everyday carry. And if you order the Broken Skull Cold Steel Knife through my Amazon links, Amazon will kick back a couple of bucks to the podcast. It won't cost you nothing extra. There's no hidden fees or charges. You can buy whatever you plan on buying and help out the podcast in the process. And you can find my Amazon links by going to podcast1.com, clicking the Killer Deals button in the top right corner of the page, and then hitting the Steve Austin Show button. I've got Amazon links for USA, UK, and Canada. So go to podcast1.com, click the Killer Deals button in the top right corner, then click on the Steve Austin Show. That's where you can find all my sponsors, all my links. If you bookmark it, you can find it in one step. If you use our Amazon links, you don't get charged anything extra, but it helps us pay our production cost. Hey, keep listening. The 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
AP Update. I'm Ross Simpson.
Are we going forward together, or are we going to be pulled backwards by someone who wants to bully us?
Hillary Clinton didn't mention Donald Trump by name during a campaign rally in Dade City, Florida today, but former Miss Universe Alicia Machado, who introduced Clinton, said Trump was cruel to her when she put on weight and he called her Miss Piggy.
Trump was overwhelming. I was scared of him. He made fun of me, and I didn't know how to respond.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller has deleted a post on his official Twitter account that used a sexually explicit and derogatory term for women when he referred to Hillary Clinton. Last year, a post on Miller's Facebook page appeared to endorse a nuclear bombing of the Muslim world. AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.